Friends, how are you? Be excited if you are an investor in SoFi, or you're like, I really want to be a part of this SoFi thing. We are in a ride here. We're in store for quite a ride here. SoFi. So once again, SoFi is still climbing here. SoFi is in this whole new range of quarterlies revenue. The last quarterly that just was posted here just moments ago at this point was right under $900 million. So we're very close. Like we're just going to say we're going to round it here to $150 million away from $1 billion quarterly. Can we get there this year with revenue with SoFi? I think we can. And two, we're going to talk about rate cuts. More than likely, they're coming here probably, 40 days, 50 days away at this point. Less than that, probably 30, 40. We're already, 12th of August. There's a lot to talk about here. I'm trying to make this short, sweet, little video here on the second channel. Thank you so much for being here. If you don't subscribe to this channel, please do. I'm trying to get this new channel, second channel, up and running and on its own 2 feet here, and I really do appreciate that. I really mean that, friends. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Let's dig in. So I believe that SoFi undoubtedly is looking for a $30 position. Right now, today we had the tariff, CP, all this stuff come out with the feds, a lot of talk here, and there's still some stuff going this week. But today was like the big day. Today was like, okay, we need good news, and it was good news. It was enough to take the market and go, okay, we're good. Now, with that too, SoFi is moving on the good news. SoFi undoubtedly is looking for $25 here. It's probably going to find it sooner than a lot of people think. We've been very close. We're still very close. It looks like we're going into that range. Now, $30, I would be willing to bet at this point, that by September, we are going to get rate cuts and we're going to see the market go crazy. And a part with that too, we are going to see SoFi get into new levels. And I've talked about this, so I don't want to talk about too much more, but I definitely think with rate cuts coming, and we're just going to say they're coming, with rate cuts coming in September, undoubtedly this will shoot up the market, and this will take bank stocks in general, but SoFi particularly, staying on the topic of SoFi here, it will be able to leapfrog into some new numbers here and more than likely hold positions with those, because I think a lot of us, the main comment and the main thing I've seen for a long time with SoFi, for years now with SoFi, is that it is undervalued for how well the company is positioned to do into the future with quarterlies, with business, with everything. I mean, it's a beautiful company. You cannot ask for a better start to a company here. So SoFi has some real momentum that could be building up here just this last few moments of this year in 2025, and you need to pay attention. Look at Robinhood right now. Robinhood is going berserk. This stock is at 115, okay? Now, Robinhood, one thing that Robinhood is really transitioning into right now is their banking part of them as a company. They're really wanting to start that. They're focusing a lot on crypto, so that's getting a lot of attention on them right now. But two, with that, Robinhood, just 2 quarterlies ago produced that $1 billion quarterly, and since then they've had some very high. They're still doing well. I mean, I'm not saying anything bad about Robinhood here. It's still an amazing company, amazing stock. It's a little bit of a different situation over there. Talking about SoFi, SoFi revenues have been, I would say, sturdier. A lot sturdier here, and that really, for the long-term play here for a lot of investors that are looking at like this, like, listen, this is something I am putting in my portfolio for the long term. I'm putting it in my 401k, my Roth, whatever you're playing this as. We don't. SoFi being a bank stock, we don't even have. There's things that happen here that you, as a young investor, and I'm not talking about your age, but I'm talking about you getting into SoFi here, starting at this very young position with SoFi here, not even a $30 stock yet. It hasn't produced $1 billion quarterly here, and still there's into the future here, talking about dividends attached to this. Okay, that's another big play here. Think about 2 years from now, if you had a horde of shares with SoFi massively in profit range and growth that you've built up into, then they say, hey, we're going to start doing dividends attached to the shares. okay, whoa. And then we're talking about maybe 5 years down the road, really getting to some heavy earnings. Maybe 5 years from now, SoFi is finally in a position to be producing minimum of, 2.5, $3 billion quarterlies, maybe somewhere in that zone. Maybe more than that, I don't know. But, we're really thinking about where this could go here. If they keep hitting these, these growth spurts of what they're doing right now. So, to me, I think SoFi is such a beautiful setup into the future, and you're still able to buy this at a very low value. But kind of the comparison of what I was saying right now with SoFi and what we saw happen with Robinhood, I believe could happen with SoFi here, where we saw Robinhood leapfrog into that $1 billion quarterly, and that triggered something, man. That triggered something. That really just like made people look and go like, oh my God, what's going on over there? We saw from that moment forward where Robinhood got that $1 billion quarterly that it just massively was flooded with investors, okay, and it really just ate up a lot of shares. It pushed revenue, it pushed the share price, and since then the stock has just been going berserk, and now it's out of control. And I don't know, this is probably going to lead to a really big argument, but I think that SoFi is, to me, the more popular stock. I really do believe that. That I think you would probably find more investors with SoFi than you would Robinhood. Robinhood obviously is an expensive stock right now. I mean, it is crazy valuation for that thing right now. And why I talk about Robinhood and SoFi so much, I really wasn't even wanting to talk about Robinhood here, but there's such good side-by-side plays right now with, looking at similar shadows with each company where they're just kind of covering each other. They undoubtedly are becoming this new top player in the banking industry with a lot of different reasons. But SoFi, trying to stay on the topic here, SoFi, the stock here is finally in this more aggressive zone right now where we're above this $20 position. We're starting to get into some actual valuation. I still think it's undervalued for what's coming here. And I think a lot of investors know that. I think a lot of the big money knows that. And two, adding on with the dividends, the quarterlies rising, customer basis rising, stock share price rising. Two, think about SoFi could be put in the S&P 500 here. It could be put in the NASDAQ 100. Those are huge plays. Those are huge situations that could happen here more than likely with SoFi. So I would really, I guess my main argument here is that I really don't know why people are not pushing more into SoFi. I think it is a tremendous play here. I mean, look at these. Look what has happened here since this quarterly came out. So just back here in July, we finally got into this $21 position here with SoFi. And, June obviously was starting into June and going into July here was a great start into some new price range here for SoFi. And when we had that quarterly come out here just not long ago, it showed just another compounding heavy-handed quarterly with SoFi. SoFi keeps doing this thing where it's almost like a little baby resemblance of what Palantir's doing. SoFi obviously coming out with great quarterlies, great growth. It's highly undervalued still, but it keeps hitting these marks here that it needs to hit. It keeps beating expectation. It keeps beating revenue. It keeps beating customer basis where they're having a tremendous amount of customers just start up accounts. Okay, every quarterly we're seeing that. So they're finding people. I don't know how they're finding so many people so at such a high rate, but they are, and it keeps continuing. So I think this is such a genuine moment for investors right now where they're able to really pop in at such a youthful, young stage right now with SoFi for a company, for a stock, everything, and really anchor in right now. I'm not even saying like for people like, hey, you need $1,000 to put in SoFi right now. That's not, if you have that, great. But what I'm essentially saying is, this is such a great place to just start. start with $5, start with $10 weekly, start with $20 weekly, whatever you're able to do. 5-10 years from now, you're going to be like, thank God I started doing that weekly investment in a SoFi, or thank God I took X amount of money and I put that in SoFi. I'm expecting a little bit of drama here in August somewhere. Things have been going a little too good here. Okay, I'm expecting some sell-off here in the market. Things are rolling hard here, but what we know more than likely, it's going to lead to a rate cut here in September. I think a lot of us at this point are going to be highly shocked if we do not get a rate cut here in September, and possibly more by the end of the year. Okay, the UK's already had 5 of these rate cuts. Okay, it's like, and everyone is calling for rate cuts at this point, everyone. And we're not seeing, I don't want to get into politics whatsoever, but as long as things keep going the way they are, there's no reason we shouldn't have a rate cut here. They're going to do a rate cut. This is obviously a huge situation that is just bubbling up here. So for us as investors, this is a moment right before a lot of stocks really get out of control price-wise. Banks in general, but SoFi focusing on that. Even, Robinhood, God knows what it's going to do here in September. But I really think SoFi has a huge chance of leapfrogging into some just ridiculous numbers here. I really do believe that. So, friends, this is a warning. This is a, not a warning like you ought to. It's just a warning like, hey, be prepared. Hey, this possibly is what is about to play out, I kind of believe. And be excited. This is a great situation that we're about to walk into more than likely here in September. Friends, I want to congratulate you. Thank you. And, thank you so much for being here. What a time to be an investor. What a time. Take care of yourself, friends. Bye, everyone.